So hello and welcome back. So we have this here, clean URLs, but we need to do some extra work and pass this URL. We should always note that the first item here represents the table that we are going to be accessing, and the second item always represents the ID of the row that we want to get. It's that simple. Then we can add extra variables here and send them to whatever function we want to run. So let's see how we can parse this real quick, which is very simple. So what I will do here is just get. So we'll keep the header disabled for now. So I'm just going to say something like URL like this, URL be equal to get URL like so. So now I'll get the query string from there. Okay, good. So we'll get whatever is in there regardless. And then what I want to do is explode it. So I'm just going to call these ones parts. These are just variable names, so you can name them whatever you want. You can say URL underscore parts like this, though that would be very long. I don't like long things like that. Maybe what we will do instead is just say row URL like that. Okay, row URL is that, and then the final URL we'll just use capital like that, just so we see this is the good stuff. So we're going to do an explosion. So we say explode. What are we going to use to explode? Is that slash in between, because we are expecting that. And then once we get that, we're going to say we will explode the row URL like so. And now it's important that we don't have another slash at the end. So what I want to do here is echo some pre-tags just so we can see our array properly, because explode creates an array of individual items. Hopefully you know what explode does. It will get this and use that as a separator. So it will put this one in array location number 1, this one in array location number 2, and so on and so forth. So once we do that, the problem is, let me just do a print readable here for a second. Print R what we have in URL. Good. So if I come back here, we have a nice clean departments. So we know at least the person wants departments and they want record number 1. And we have them separated like this very nicely. But what if somebody accidentally puts a slash at the end like that? Then we'll have an empty array there, which will not be good. If they keep adding these guys here, actually it doesn't keep going, but you get the idea. So we want to just trim whatever is at the very end there, whatever slashes are at the end. So let's do that. So here we just say trim like so. We'll be using the trimmed version here. And with trim, you can usually trims the spaces, but we can tell it to trim a specific character, and we'll put that character there like so. So let's see if we have that now. So if I refresh, you see that regardless with those slashes, I still just get 2 arrays, 2 items in the array. That's good. Okay, so now that we have that, we should always know that the first item in URL is always the table name. Cool. Okay, so that's the table name. That's fine. So what we want to do now is create a class that we're going to use to read from the database. So I'll go to classes and create a new file. I'll say PHP like that. Let's name this class. What are we going to name it? Class app like though, because this is entirely our app like so. And so I'll just say app.php. Okay. So in here, we're going to have several functions. So I'm just going to say public function like that. Public function. And then I will have a params like this is equal to an empty array like that. Okay, so the reason we're adding params here is because in future you may want people to add other parameters there which we will use when reading from the database. That way it's future proof. Yes, so we have that function, but we need a function name here. So this one is departments. Okay, departments, like that. And if you notice, this is the table name. So this is what we will do. We'll just create functions that will run depending on what the user, what the table the user wants to access. Employees, like that. This way you can easily extend your app like this. Okay, so this is all good. Departments, employees, very nice. And then so in here we will bring all the code that we got from this side to the other side. But the question is, how do we call a particular function? So here we're just going to say echo departments. That way we know which function was called. So copy that and echo, paste here, employees, like so. Good. So this way we will know which one is code when we do call them. Very nice. Now for now, we're just going to ignore everything after that. I'll just say die at this point so we don't get to this code. We just want to deal with this. We fix the URL first. So at this point, URL has the first item. Now we can call this item and just do this. I'm just going to say app is equal to new app, like so. Okay, good. So we've created our new app, but then we want to read from the app. So we say app, and I'll do this, but I want to read to run a function name with the whatever was given in the URL there. So just say URL, the very first item in the URL, like so. Okay, good. So this should run just fine. So let me come back here and I will refresh the page like, oh, array to string conversion on line 19. Wait a minute. So when you get array to string, it means you're trying to use an array as a string. So wait a minute, let me just do this, print like that so that I see what's inside that. Refresh. There is a text called departments. So why is that undefined property and then there's an array? This is interesting. Why is there an array here? Okay, instead of fighting with this thing, let me just do this. I'll say table, since we just want the table. Table is equal to that, okay, like so. And then I'll copy whatever is inside table and run it here. Let's see if it complains again. Okay, so it's saying undefined property app departments. So it has this thing here, but we're getting close, yes? We are getting close. So another way we can run this, because it seems oh, actually this is my bad. I should put brackets like this because I'm trying to call a function. So let me refresh. Okay, there we go. So it did run this time. Let me remove that. So what we are doing is we are saying whatever value is in here, let's run it as a function of app. Hopefully that is clear. So let me refresh, we'll get departments. So if I now go to my URL and change that to employees like that and press enter, you see that now it has run the employees function. Okay, previously it was running the departments, and there we go, departments. So those are echoes from here. Maybe I can say from, so you can see it properly, from the department's function, like so. Same thing here, but I think you get the picture. So if I refresh, you see from the department's function. Okay, good. So we're now able to run our functions. Now there's a slight problem here. If somebody types in a function that does not exist, then we get this problem. Fatal error, code to undefined method departments. So how do we sort this problem out? Well, one way to do that is to check if whatever is in here is actually callable, if we can call it before we try to call it. So here what I would do is I'm just going to say if is callable, like that. Okay, so there's that function called is callable. Now you can put an array instead in here, instead of just let's say if I want to try and see if a function can run is callable, I'm going to put the function name here in quotes. Maybe it's my func, like so, and then it will return true or false depending whether this is callable or not. But in our case, we want to check a function within a class. So to do that, we put an array like so. So the array will contain two variables. The first one is the class name, and the second variable is the method that, or the function that you want to call. So in our case, we want to call the table function, whatever this is at that time. And then we want to use this app class. So we put the class here and then that app. So this will tell us whether this is callable or not. So I'm going to move this in here. If it is callable, then call it. If it isn't, let's do an else statement here and just say echo could not find function, something like this. Even though in our case we won't do this, we just return an empty because we don't have time to give errors. We just want to return JSON. So I'll refresh and it will just say could not find that function. But then if I put a correct one here, it's running from the department. So we've solved that problem. Yes, yes. So instead of all this, what we will do instead is we'll just say result. We'll say result is equal to an empty object like this. Okay, empty JSON. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll copy this and just say result is equal to that. And then at the end, we'll just say echo result, like that. See what's happening here? So this will be the end of the app. So we just run the app, whatever results it gives us, then we'll return that and echo it out at the end. This way we have a well-structured system, and we'll forget about everything down here at the end. We'll move this into the class itself. So let's see what result we get here. So if I now refresh, I get from the department. And if I write something that doesn't exist, a table that doesn't exist, I get the empty JSON. Nice. Okay, so now we just have to make sure the app also returns empty JSON if it doesn't find anything. So I'm just going to say echo just like this, like that. Okay, just to make sure that regardless, oh, sorry, we are not echoing anymore. My bad. We have to return like this. Nice. So return that, copy, and do return that as well. Okay, pretty cool. Let's come back here again and let's check. So we don't need these guys no more. I will remove these babies. Okay. And we don't need this db is equal to new db here because we'll be running our db from inside these functions like so. Cool. Yes. Now, if you don't want to keep doing this, doing that, you can add this to the class top there, and then you use your constructor to create a connection, and then you can just keep using that same connection. It's more efficient. You can just say private because it's just going to be used in here. Private on like that, or private db, maybe let's say db, oops, db, like this, and just leave it like that. And then you can create a function that is called construct double, like that, double underscore, and then open close like this. Where did that come from? Okay, so in the constructor, this constructor will run immediately. We do this. We just say app is equal to new app, then this function is run automatically. So this is the function we can use to do this. Copy that and just do that, and just say db is equal to new database, and then assign that to this. So we're just going to say this db, oh sorry, this db is equal to new database. So which means when you say this, you're talking about the variable that exists in there. So this db is equal to that. Then from there onward, to get db, we just say this db constantly everywhere here. Okay, so I can just say here db be equal to this db. Anyway, it's not necessary at this point. I'll just remove that. Then I will move my code. Let's move one of these. So we don't need this case department. We just need if ID, then if not, then that. So another thing is we need to pass parameters in here. So you see there's an empty array there, but before here we can pass, because remember, we are only using table from the very first item. We've forgotten about the ID that comes in the second parameter there. So what we will do here is this. We'll say params, right? I'm going to say whatever the remaining parameters, we're just going to get them there and say params is equal to, and I will say, first of all, I need to remove the very first item because we've set it to the table. So we don't need that item anymore. So I would do this. I would say URL unset like this. I'll unset this first item like so. So before I do any of this, let me just show you something here. I'll make it die here again. Sorry about that. But then I want to print readable here and print whatever is in URL like so. So we've used the URL here, set it to table, and then removed it from there. So the only issue we have, if I do this now, let me say department/1 like so. So we are remaining with just that one. Now, if I had other params here, let's say comments like that, I would have this now. But the problem is it starts at 1. I want the array to start at 0. So this is why I would say array to get the params here. I'll say array keys, array values, sorry. So it can get all the values remaining inside the URL here, the URL variable, and then put them in here. But the goodness is that they will start at value 0. So we can see that by just moving this print to here and printing params instead. I hope all this is making sense. So back here, refresh. So we get exactly the same thing, but at least it starts at 0. So cool. Yes. Okay, so now that we have the params that we need, we just need to send them when we are calling this. Just put the params in there like so. Okay, good. If they're empty, they'll be empty just like that. So let me just remove this and let's just make sure we have no errors so far. So move that like this and result echo die. So our code should end up to there only. So let's give it a test run and see that we don't get any errors. So refresh from the department. That's nice. Let me remove all the params here and try it out like that, just department, and it still runs just fine. Okay, so if I try employees, I get employees. Very good. So this is basically our routing system, okay? This is exactly what these guys have, where if you type slash, let me go down here, slash posts, slash comments, slash albums, you get a particular function to run to retrieve the correct information that you want. So hopefully you understand that this is the routing system, as it says here, routes, and these are the routes. Okay, pretty cool. So far so good. Now in the next video, we just see how to actually retrieve information using our new system here.